welcome to this lecture. Welcome to Mining Devs. My name is Vinay Kalra, and we'll be studying blockchain technology today. Right? Let me give you a brief. Very. We'll step into the technology part of blockchain at a later space. Like, let's clear some of the rules that we have in this lecture. Right? What I'll try to do is I'll try to teach as much as possible to you guys in this given time frame. Like, I just have 1 hour right now, right? So what I'll do is I'll answer that big question that you guys have in your mind, like how to get started, right? So this big question, I'll answer that, and we'll try to figure out ways to give you guys insights onto what are the different terms that are being used in blockchain, right? So some basic rules of this lecture. If you guys have any question, right, you guys can write it in the chat box. After every section, I'll see the chat box and I'll try to answer the questions that you guys will have. Okay, and we'll try to keep this session interactive. I'll really love if I can get responses from all of the people that are here, right? And what I'll do is I'll ask very basic questions as to understand you guys better, so that I can understand you guys better, and only then I'll be able to convey the messages that I want to convey to you, right? So how many of you guys have heard the word blockchain? A simple yes and a no question, right? So can we have a quick yes and a no in the chat box, please? Questions as well. If there are some questions as well, we'll go in the chat box, right? And I can, okay, no, yes, a mixed response for everybody, but a good response nonetheless. Okay. All right. I do love a very active audience, guys, right? So what I do is this gives me energy so that I can do better as well, right? That this is nice. So how many of you guys? Okay, the people, those who have said yes. Good evening. The people who have said yes, right? How many of them have actually developed on a blockchain before? Can we have a quick yes and a no about it? Has anybody developed on a blockchain before? If there is a no, please definitely reply. Okay. All right. What we'll do is today, right? We'll try to convert this no to a yes, right? None of the people have actually done that, right? So we'll try to convert this no to a yes today. We'll go through the very basics of blockchain. What exactly is blockchain, and what are smart contracts, right? We as developers, right, we will not really even it's not just about developers, this lecture. If you are a designer, right, if you are a coder, or if you are a person who's very intrigued with maybe media or something like that, this particular lecture will cover almost all those perspectives of blockchain, right? Blockchain in itself is growing at a very fast rate right now. It's not about just about coding now, right? It's about a lot of more domains that there are. We'll try and cover each one of them, right? And first of all, why blockchain is a question that I believe that a lot of you might have, right? So why blockchain? A very basic answer to that. Definitely, a lot of monetary incentives are there in blockchain space right now, right? You guys must have seen the prices of Bitcoin soaring, right? The prices of Ethereum, or for that matter, a lot of other cryptocurrencies. I believe every one of you would be intrigued, to understand what is the knowledge behind it, right? Why are the prices of Bitcoin, they are like rocketeering right now, right? So how many people might have made money from it? So this space in itself, you can make and lose money, yes, right? And as a developer, definitely there is a lot of things to be done, right? In this space, this is just grooming right now. You and me, like right, a lot of people for that matter, your friends, right, none of them has access to blockchain itself. So to reach to that access, a lot of work is still to be done. And who's going to do it, right? People like you and me, definitely, right? And as well as what will happen is, on the way, we'll get incentivized of doing that, because this space is growing at a very fast scale. if you see, the stats of Glassdoor, the average salary of a blockchain developer is expected to be of an experienced developer, definitely of 2 years, is expected to be about 6 lakhs per annum, right? An average salary of 2 years experience, right? And which grows exponentially in the next 3 years, exponentially, which is not a factor that is included in the corporates of today, right? So this is why blockchain. This is why you should learn about blockchain, right? I hope that this is intriguing enough for everybody to bind everybody together. That this is what something that is worth doing, definitely, right now. So let's, with that note, let's start learning blockchain, right? Uh, all right. So in this session, what we'll do is, as I've said, we'll cover some of the basics of a blockchain, uses of blockchain. We'll focus some points on Ethereum, right, as well as we'll focus some points on other chains such as Algorand as well. Like, what are the basics of different chains that are working and right now in blockchain space, right? And how, as a developer, can you get started? The big question, right? How, as a developer, can we do this? If we have some questions, where we can reach out to, all those things will be answered here in this lecture, right? Let's see this. I believe everybody can see this, right? So this is a basic blockchain, right? It's just a chain of block. A blockchain can be explained in very few words, like it's a unique immutable database, right? Unique way of storing data which is immutable at the same time. This is what is blockchain, right? Before we proceed ahead, a quick question: how many of you have actually developed a website or an Android app or something like that before? Can we have a quick yes and a no? Okay. Okay. There are yes though. Okay. All right. Some people know, some people yes. Now this is really nice. Some people have actually done some work here, right? So that they can now relate to databases like MySQL, PostgreSQL, or something like that, right? They must have worked on this when they have created a website or maybe an Android app or something like that. So just relate to a blockchain as your MySQL database itself. It's nothing more than that. What I'll do is, in this lecture,
सर आप म्यूट हो गए।
So you are muted.
hello.
Yes, so now audible.
Yeah, I'm
Yes,
audible now. Yeah. Okay. 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 I believe I must have touched something now. Okay. Great. Thank you guys for pointing that out. All right. So where was I? Can anybody help me? Like, what was the last sentence that you guys heard? MySQL, right? Okay. Yeah. All right. So with MySQL, the what we'll do is we'll try to create an analogous about.
Again muted.
sir, you
So
are
you are not
muted.
audible again.
I believe somebody's able to mute it. Just a sec.
So please change the settings.
Hello.
Yes, sir, you're audible.
Yeah, I'm audible now.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. So you are muted.
Just a second. Organizers. Uh, just a sec. Somebody is actually able to. Anybody can mute me actually.
I think the host is someone else.
Yeah. Just I've texted my team. We'll see to it, right? And just don't mute me right now. All right, guys. Okay. So if I'm muted again, okay, just point it out, right? Because I want to know now. All right. So great. So analogous, right? And let's try and understand the basics that involve a blockchain now, because this is a unique database, right? Let's see now. What I have here is a basic demo. This is an open source demo. It is available to everybody, right? So this is a demo where we can learn the basic elements that constitutes a blockchain, right? Right now, I believe everybody can have a picture in their mind suggesting that this is a block. A block is linked with the other block using a chain, right? So this is a blockchain, and what blocks comprises of is data, right? So right now, this is the picture that everybody must be imagining, right? So right now, let's talk about some of the key elements of a blockchain that makes it secure, right? As well as we can decentralize a blockchain. These are two terms that we'll study here, like why blockchain is so important. It's reliant on these two terms, security and decentralization. Okay, so let's talk about some basic key elements, and then I'll explain why secure and why decentralized, right? So the first element that comes to mind is hash. What exactly are hashes? These are one-way cryptographical functions, right, where you feed them data, and what they do is they generate an encoded string, right? Supposedly what we are doing here is, this is something that we always do. Whenever we learn something, hello world is always there, right? So when we talk about any kind of data that we enter here, you must see that the hash keeps on changing. If I even have a space here, the hash will change, right? The hash keeps on changing. Now, this is something that lays the foundation of security in the data. This data is now encrypted into this, right? A hash. Why they are known as one-way cryptographical function is this data could be converted to this hash. But if you have this hash, you cannot convert it back to this data. You can, but it will take a lot of computing power that you and me, we practically do not have access to, right? So just note this. If this is the word, the hash is starting with C0535, right? If I change it, the hash changes. But if I bring back this particular word, you'll see the hash remains the same. The hash for similar data will always remain the same. This is a very unique property of hashes. This is how, if you encrypt a data, you cannot decrypt it back. You can only encrypt it. You can only feed it one way. So if you want to check two datas, that if they are same or not, what you'll do is you'll generate the same hash for both of those data. If you have hello world here, maybe you want to check that you have two datas here, and you want to check if those two data are same. For that matter, a lot of you who have worked on websites might know MD5, right? MD5 works like this. What you do is you securely store a password in the data in the database, right? And what you do is you always check the MD5 hash of that password. You do not check the password itself, because MD5 hash of that password will always remain the same. So this is how two passwords could be compared, but at the same time, they could be stored in an encrypted format, so that nobody who has access to the database can actually make use of those passwords. So this lays the foundation of blockchain, right? Guys, if you guys have any questions, keep posting it in the chat box. After I've covered blockchain, the whole a bit of blockchain, I'll come and answer the questions that you guys have, right? Let's move on to the next component, which is a block. Right now, blockchain forms the block. What exactly is blockchain? Chain of blocks, right? So what exactly is a block now? These are some of the components of a block. This is what we call block height. Now, right now, this is block number 1, so block height is 1. So if it is block number 2, it will be 2. If it is 3, it will be 3. If it is 4, it will be 4, right? And so on and so forth. Um, this this is nonce. But what exactly is the purpose of nonce? Whenever a block is broadcasted to the network, whenever a block is being mined, what miners have to do to mine the block is to guess this nonce. When they have guessed this nonce, what they do is they then broadcast the block to the chain, and then the block is linked to the chain itself. And this is the process of mining. We'll not go into the mining for details right now. Just consider that this nonce is something that miners use to guess, right? This has a very specific purpose in mining. Now this data could actually be anything. You can store anything in a blockchain, whatever you like, right? Most of the times, what is being stored in the blockchain is transactions. When we talk about a blockchain of Bitcoins, we store transactions here in this data in the form of JSON objects, right? Transaction data as to who is doing the transaction, what were the signatures of the transaction, the timestamp of the transaction, all those things are being stored in this data here, in this data section when it comes to cryptocurrencies. But at the same time, a lot of more things could be stored in this data, right? When it comes to Ethereum, what you can do is you can even store code in this data, right? So this is a very unique property of Ethereum, or for that matter, even Algorand as well, right? Or other chains as well, where what we do is we store code here so that it could be compiled later. We will come to that at a later stage. Just remember that we can actually store anything here, right? And you see that whenever we store something here, the hash keeps on changing, right? Because the data changes. If I change block height, if I change nonce, if I change data, all of these things will change this, right? All of these things will change the hash. This is why, because all of these things are used while creating an hash, right? Right now, this is a very basic image of a block. A block has a lot more components than these 4. It's just for a basic understanding of a block. That's it, right? And but what we do while we mine this, right? Now this is turned green. This suggests that it is being mined, right? And this is you see this here. There are some zeros here in front of the hash. The number of zeros, if the number of zeros is a lot more, it will tell the difficulty of mining this block. The more difficult the process of mining the block, the more number of zeros will be here. The more the energy would be required to mine it. The more computing power will be required to mine it. So that is why it was very easy to mine Bitcoin 10 years back. Right now it is very, very difficult to mine Bitcoin, right? It will take a lot of computing power, which initial days of Bitcoin, it was people could actually mine it via their laptops. So that, just think about those people who actually mined it during those days, and think about the price of Bitcoin right now. When a block is being mined, apart from the transaction fees, 12 new Bitcoins are generated. So just think about it, right? Think about the number that you can get to, and think about how much people have been rewarded in this sector, right? So this is what is a block, and how a particular block is linked with the second block is using these hashes only. The hash of the first block is fed to the hash of the second block. Hash of the second is fed to the hash of the third block, and so on and so forth. So this forms the basis of blockchain, right? And there is one very important concept to note here. If I type something here, right? If I change the data in the first block, I'm writing this here, right? So you see all the blocks are red now. What happened? Why all the blocks are red? I just changed this block. I was not working on these 2 and 3. What actually happened, if you note here, the hash was this, right? The hash was this, which was connected with the previous hash here. So 15783, 15783, right? So block 1 is connected with block 2 using the hash of the block 1. If I change block 1, I'm changing the hash of the block 1, right? Which changes the hash of block 2 as well along with it, because the previous hash changes, and block 3. So this is why changing the data in a blockchain is very difficult. So what you'll have to do now is you'll have to mine all these 3 blocks, because changing first block has changed all the blocks that were ahead of it, right? This is what forms the basis of security in a blockchain. In Bitcoin, you cannot go ahead and change transactions in the blocks that are currently mined, that have been mined, right? Why so? Because what you'll have to do is you'll have to go back, change the transaction, and then you have to mine the whole chain, which is a very, very tedious process and will take a lot of computing power right now, a lot of computing power. So this is what is referred to as, when we talk about 51% attack as well on the blockchain itself, right? What will happen is, if somebody has 51% access to the chain, or 51% of the mining power that there is, he can actually go back and change the transaction that were done, right? And only those transactions that were done to him, not the other transactions, because if something like that happens, the whole chain will then discard the chain and will start the chain from where that particular block was left, right? So this is also what can happen. At the same time, the transaction could be changed, right? But he'll require the power of 51%, the mining power of 51%. Right now, the majority that is there, that anybody has in mining percentages, is roughly about 19%. That is there, right? Nobody was able to achieve more than that in percentages of mining power. So this is what forms the security, the basis of security in a blockchain, right? And when it comes to decentralization, as I told you, that blockchain has two concepts: security and decentralization. So when it comes to decentralization, uh, the major thing to note is that we do not have a centralized server in a blockchain. But what do I mean by a centralized server? Supposedly, right now, we'll talk about your bank only, because this is a very analogous statement when it comes to blockchain. When it comes to Bitcoin, you can compare Bitcoin with any other financial institution, right? So if you compare it with banks, what banks has is a database where a number is stored. Supposedly, if I have 10,000 rupees in my bank account, so that 10,000 is just a number stored in my database. Yeah, this person has 10,000 rupees, right? So what will happen if somebody has access to that database, and that somebody is really pissed off with me? So what he'll do is that he'll go ahead and change that transaction. He'll make it zero. I might not even have that 10,000 bucks with me, right? So this is what a centralized server and the limitations of a centralized server are, right? But when it comes to a decentralized server, in that case, what is happening is that your information is stored not in one place but multiple places. Called these multiple places are called nodes, right? And this is what we mean by decentralization, that the storage is actually stored in a lot of places. So this blockchain, the whole chain, is stored right now in a lot of places, a lot of nodes that are running the chain itself, right? So this is what decentralization is. And this decentralization was achieved by blockchain only, the concepts that are around blockchain, right? And no other database was able to achieve it. This is why we call it unique database as well as an immutable database. It cannot be changed, right? It technically it can be, but it will require so much power that it's safe to consider that it cannot, right? And let's see if we have some questions. That we'll try and cover some questions, and then we'll move on further to some other concepts as well. Okay, guys. Lot of texts, guys. Okay, if I miss some questions, please feel free to post them again. I believe I've covered, Abhishek, I've covered what exactly is hash. Hash is a one-way cryptographical function, right, where you feed it data and it encrypts your data, right, and it could not be reversed back. You cannot really get that data from the hash itself, right, uh, provided we know the key. If Ankit has asked a question, so can we decrypt a one-way hash provided we know the key? Uh, Now, if you know the key, right, of a one-way hash, right, it depends on what exactly is it that you mean by key. First of all, like what you need right now is, if you have a hash, first of all you need to see that if it is a SHA 256, if it is a SHA 512, or which type of hash is it. If it is MD5 or base64, lot of hashes there, right? So you need to figure out like which hash it is first, right? And after that, for decryption, there is not really a key when it comes to hashes. It's just data and the encryption of the data. So what you will need is the process of encryption for that. If the process of encryption has a key linked to it, right, and then you can definitely decrypt it with the key. I hope I've answered your question. Simple to crack. Yes, you can. If there is no limit to the number of attempts, can we use a bot to try all possible combinations of hashes? Yes, you can. But what I'll suggest is try some permutations and if you are good in permutations and combinations, try that, and as well as your computer speeds. Then you will look at the possibility of cracking a hash. It and it would be in years, right? In so many years that your lifetime will surpass. So yes, we can do that. Yes, we can have a bot and we can try and permutate through it and try and bypass it. But practicality is very different, because your lifetime will surpass and it won't be cracked. There are things that are already going on, such as these, but yet there are still some results to come. So again, you'll need a lot of computing power. If you have a lot of computing power, then you can what you can do is you can ease the process of decrypting it. That's it, and the time taken would be less. Otherwise, it's actually in years. If we change the nonce, will hash change? Yes, Keshav, yes, the hash will change if you change the nonce as well. Hashes change on all the values of the block, all the values that there are, right? So mostly all the hash, all the whole data is used to make a block hash. Yeah, Ankit has already answered. Great, guys. Anshuman has asked what actually mine stands for. Mining stands for mining. It's actually mining. This is a term given by the community itself, right? That this is this term mining itself. So what mining is, that the process where some new Bitcoin generated. If I talk about Bitcoin, if I talk about that, so what process of mining has is, what we do is we validate the block, the transactions that are in the block, right? And we validate it, and then we publish it to the node, right? So whoever publishes it first, whoever guesses the nonce, publishes it first and does his computing work, is given priority. Now, if the community accepts that block, if more than 51% community accepts that block is included in the chain. This is what the whole inclusion of a block process is. This is what is known as mining. And miners, because they are doing so much work computationally, they are being benefited by issuing some new Bitcoins to them, whosoever publishes the block, as well as the transaction fees is being sent to them, to the miners, right? How and where new data transactions are added in the blockchain? I believe with mining you must have understood this. If you still have a question, let me know, Chirag. Since data is there at multiple places, doesn't it make it easy to steal data like transaction? Chirag has a very nice question here. Since data is at multiple places, doesn't it make it easy to steal data like transaction IDs, passwords, etc.? Chirag, first of all, this blockchain, it's if we talk about Bitcoin for that matter, or Ethereum for that matter, these are public blockchains, right? Public blockchains, what happens is the data that you guys have is public. It's being spread throughout, right? And anybody can see the transactions right now. If you go and see the block explorer, right, you'll see that you see all the transactions that there are. Maybe I can show it to you. So right now, this is the latest block that is being mined. I believe everybody can see this, right? This is something good right now. This question was good, so that's why I'm taking you guys here. So this is the latest block of the Bitcoin that was mined, right? So you can see that this is the block hash that is generated, right? Just have a look at number of zeros. Okay, so just guess the difficulty that miners must have had to publish this block, right? And the number of transactions that are there in this block. 1200 transactions are there in this block, right? And what else? These are all the variables of a block. As I was saying, you right, just do not consider those 4 variables. There are a lot, but for understanding right now, for you guys to not be overwhelmed, I need you guys to just see this and do not keep this in your mind, right? So that you guys are not scared by it. These are very, very basic things. This was the block reward. 6.2 BTC was awarded to the one who has mined it, right? And these are transactions that are there along with confirmations, right? That how many confirmations have been done to these transactions. So first transaction is always the fees, and who it is credited to. So these are the addresses that it is credited to, the public addresses that it is credited to. So everything is visible here. You can see every transaction that is happening on the chain. Nothing is being hidden. So it's public. But the only thing that makes it secure is that nobody can link you to your wallet addresses, because your wallet addresses will look like this, right? And this is very weird, right? So nobody can link it with the person. So this is what makes it secure at the same time. If you do not want people to know that you're transacting, so you just need to make sure that these hashes are not linked to your name. I believe everybody might have understood this. This was a very good question, Chirag. Does everyone at nodes have access to blockchain? Yes, they have. Everyone who's building their nodes, they have access to blockchain. Yes. They actually have the whole blockchain with them, which is in GBs right now. More than 300 GB, I believe. If you want, you guys can actually download Bitcoin Core and see as to how big the Bitcoin blockchain is. Now, all the other blockchains have different concepts. Right now, what I'm doing is I'm talking more about Bitcoin itself, like what exactly it is on Bitcoin. Different chains have different processes attached to it at the same time. There are okay. Okay. How are transactions authenticated in case of Bitcoin? Transactions authenticated they are with private keys. For that matter, in any of the blockchain, what happens is when you transact, right? But what happens is that there are 2 type of keys. One is public and one is private. Public keys are something that are visible to everybody. You can just send your public key to somebody, but you cannot send your private key to somebody. Because if they have the private key, what they can do is they can they can do transactions that on your behalf as well, or from your wallet as well. So which is definitely not secure. If you have money in that wallet, you'll be just handing it over to somebody else if you share your private keys with them. So transactions are, but during transactions, what happens is that using that private key, we sign that transaction. In that transaction, there is a concept known as digital signature, right? But I'll urge you guys just after this, definitely go to our channel and have a look at the Bitcoin white paper series that we created. We have mentioned every single thing that is there in the Bitcoin white paper, and digital signatures is one of the solutions provided by Satoshi Nakamoto, right? And so that, go ahead and maybe in that video you guys can actually understand it better. Right now I have very limited time and lot to do, right? Means okay. Okay, but 51% community decision could take a huge amount of time to accept any transaction. It's actually instantaneous, like how if the nodes are live, right? Uh, it's just in thinking that it seems, Chirag, that it will take a lot of time, but it's actually instantaneous. Mostly that if the node is coming and they'll accept it, validate it, accept it, and if 51% community has accepted that node, that particular block is considered mined, right? Yeah, yes, 6.25 is a big number right now. That is why we are talking about it right now. All right, guys, let's move further and we'll take some questions at the end of the session as well. Let's talk about smart contracts as well along with it, right? Okay. Has everybody? Okay, let's talk about smart contracts. Let me show you a very basic smart contract here, right? I believe everybody can see this. A lot of you might know maybe Java, right? Just think of it as Java only. This is a very basic smart contract. What it is doing is it is storing a data on chain and getting that data from the chain. So a programmable chains such as Algorand, Ethereum, what they have done is they have created a system where programmable code can be stored in the data itself, right? So what you can do is you can set those values, you can get those values, you can update those values, right? So this forms the basis of smart contracts, right? A lot of stuff is being done on Ethereum, on other chains as well, where on smart contracts itself. So Ethereum has its Ethereum virtual machine which computes these smart contracts, and that computation fees, while they are calculating this and executing this and compiling this, that computational fees is known as gas fees. So whenever this contract will be called, there will be a fees associated with this contract, right? I believe everybody can understand this. I believe a lot of you guys are already coders, so everybody can understand what this is written here. This function is to set this stored data, and this function is to get this stored data, right? A very basic function, and these are what are smart contracts, right? So just have a look at it and think about it for a while. What exactly is stopping you guys from creating it, right? There is only one thing that is doing that. That is knowledge. Simply, you guys just need to understand as to where to go and create these smart contracts on chain, deploy them, and these smart contracts, they interact with blockchain. You guys will never actually, hopefully, will never actually go ahead and create a blockchain in itself, right? If there is somebody, definitely reach out to me. Somebody do create a blockchain, right? But what you'll do majorly is you'll be creating smart contracts where you will be interacting with that blockchain itself, right? This particular you can maybe the people who have created websites, they can relate it to like that. Maybe what we do is we create PHP code to interact with our MySQL database, right? And after that, what we do is we do an AJAX call on that PHP, right? For that matter, Java people might know Volley as well along with it. That what we do with Volley, right? If Android people will know Volley. So what we do is we call on the database and get the data, right? So these smart contracts are just doing that. They are storing the data and getting the data for us, as well as updating the data when we need it to, right? From the blockchain, which is a database. This is what is happening right now. This is what we call moving from Web 2 to Web 3. In Web 2, we had technologies as we had cloud driven computing where we had Node.js, all of those stuffs, right? Where when we used to make servers and all those things, right? A lot of you have already done work there. You will be able to understand what Web 2 is. We are working on Web 2 a lot right now. A lot of you are working on Web 2. If you guys have made websites, Android apps, and all those things, you are on Web 2. To make it decentralized is what is Web 3. To make your data decentralized is something that is an essential to move towards Web 3. And to make it to Web 3, Ethereum, Algorand, Maker, Ocean, such things are useful there, right? And very easy as well at the same time. Right now, Ethereum is not really the best choice to go towards Web 3, because of the very high gas fees. Now, as I've already mentioned you guys that what exactly is gas fees? Gas fees is something that whenever a smart contract is being compiled, there is a computational power at stake. That computational power has some fees to it. That is gas fees, right? And right now, Ethereum network is clogged, right? There are so many things built on Ethereum network. So right now, gas fees has reached its heights. So there is you'll have to pay a lot of dollars just to get a transaction done on Ethereum network, right? As well as the transactions are delayed by a very, very long time because there are a lot of transactions happening on Ethereum network, right? So these are the two limitations that we have on Ethereum, which is high gas fees, low scalability, right? Projects like Algorand are actually catering to these problems right now, right? This is Algorand is actually one of the biggest projects that there are, right? And they are catering to the limitations of the Ethereum network. That is what is major as well. So you guys can actually go ahead, create something on Algorand as well, or Ethereum as well. The knowledge that will be required would be similar only, right? But at the same time, the scalable solutions that any other chain could provide would be huge at the same time, right? Your people might not really have to pay that much gas fee. They might not have to wait for their transactions, right? Algorand has actually catered to these limitations a lot. They have catered to scalability. They have catered to higher gas fees and all those things, right? And a perfect environment, perfect documentations and things there to make sure that people can get started, as well as those people are actually incentivizing people as well, right? So I have something here that I was reading about. So actually, Algorand, what they have done is they have a 250 million Algo grants program. This is not dollars, okay? This is Algo. Just go ahead and you can definitely go and check the price of Algorand token as well, right? So this is huge amount. This caters to a huge amount as well. If this is something that is an incentive to move towards the blockchain ecosystem itself, right? As a developer, think about if your idea gets selected, if you're doing something on a chain, if your idea gets selected, the whole foundation will fund your idea to make sure that it reaches the height that it needs, right? It's not just about coders right now. So there are a lot of things that are happening in DeFi space. This is OpenSea.io. Here, a lot of you might have heard NFTs, right? And might be wondering like what exactly are NFTs. NFTs are non-fungible tokens, right? Just cater to this right now. I'll not go into details much, but what you can do is you can post your designs here, the designs that you create, and you can sell it, right? This is in Ethereum right now. The prices are in Ethereum, right? So, and this is a lot of Ethereum, right? If you see right now, the price of Ethereum is actually quite high, right? And they are asking for such prices, and some people are actually getting it as well, right? Some people are able to sell their NFTs here. So this is for designers, for musicians, for video creators. You can basically create an NFT of anything, publish it here, and make money out of it, right? If you guys are good designer, go ahead, just try this out, try this space out, and see if something good really pops out here, right? You can see this space in itself is for artists basically. So if you guys have something, definitely go ahead, check this out, OpenSea.io, and do that, right? Now, coming to a very, very important thing, right? How to get started. One of the major things that we can do is, right, as developers or as people of interest in this particular space, right, is to stay connected. Let me tell you some of the pointers. Like, let me tell you what I have been doing, right? From like what I was doing in the start, right? What I was doing was I was looking forward for groups that there are. I was looking to the community that there is, like, right, and there are a lot of communities that are being built on of that are of cryptocurrencies, right? What we can suggest you is that Algorand is already doing a very good job when it comes to explaining developers how to get onboarded. Do go ahead, stay in their groups, stay in their Discord channels, talk to them, have a conversations, right? Have a conversations with us, stay connected, and ask questions whenever you are building, right? Stay in a community and ask questions. This is what is very, very essential, right? We'll be sharing the links that are there of in the chat box itself, right? And so that you guys can go there, you guys can actually get yourself acquainted, you guys can get started as well along with it. The community is very, very polite. Everybody will welcome you. If you guys have questions as to how to even get started, right, building, they'll definitely provide answers for that, point you in the right directions. If you need something, they'll do that, right? So all of that things, they are ready to provide, they're happy to provide, even we are happy to provide, right? It's just that you guys should have clear motives, clear incentives to do this, right? And this is what majorly constitutes the blockchain system. And these are the basic pointers. Now let's take some questions as well along with it. If you guys have some questions, please fire it up and we'll take it. And definitely, is there, if okay, Keshav has something. Guys, please repost your questions and only questions. I might not be able to go back too many text messages. I'll take it from Keshav, like the first question from Keshav. Everybody can repost their questions. That would be huge. If the one who mined the block has the access to everything, so he become the centralized system of that block. Let me shed some light here, Keshav, as to the mining process. What happens is that whenever a block is created, guys, I see a lot of off cameras as well. Can maybe some of you guys can switch on your videos as well? Yeah, along with it. What the process of mining is, what happens is that process of mining is initiated by all the nodes that are interested in mining, right? So basically that data is already public, it's already available to everybody, so anybody can go ahead and try to mine that block. It's not just one or two people or three people are mining it, it's the whole community who's mining it. Whosoever mines it first gets the rewards, right? This is the system. So basically it's not really about centralization in itself here, right? It's more on the lines of that the data is already available to everybody, they are free to mine, right? And the data is public. It's basically a public chain as well. Rinku, do you have some questions? You can post it here. Rinku, Keshav, okay. All right. There is one more question I believe a lot of you might have, that if there is some prerequisites to start learning blockchain, right? I believe a lot of you are already above it. So what you can do is you can go ahead, start building a smart contract, right? You can choose Ethereum or Algorand or any other chain for that matter, but I recommend is using any of these two, right? And get started by deploying a smart contract. This is the first term that you have to search, right? First term that you have to search on Google or wherever you go, how to deploy a smart contract on that chain. You can get started with Algorand as well. I believe there's a lot of good docs available, and the community is really helpful as well along with it. Right? So get started there and see that you guys can actually. This is really easy as well. It is a task of only 2 days to deploy a smart contract on a chain. right? And you guys are like, if you know Java or if you know some HTML, CSS, and development stuff like that, you guys are already good, right? If you know any one language for that matter, Java, Python, something, you guys are good, right? And if you guys are designer, definitely check out OpenSea.io. Something could be done with that as well. You guys can, maybe some of you might be able to make some money out of it. Okay, so there is one question that Rinku has. After data is encrypted by host, then do hosts have the power to decode it? After data, considering the host here, meaning that if I am the one who's encrypting the data, so I'll be the host, right? So if I have that data, then definitely if I am encoding it, I'll be able to decode it. So it's actually, you'll need the data. That's it. It won't be encoding or decoding here. There is no decoding here at all. You just need the data so that the hash can be corrected properly. There won't be something like decode here. It's just one-sided things that are happening on blockchain. It's not the other sided. Now if we talk about decrypt or something like that, things like that, they have a tendency, like encoding and decodings are also possible, right? But not with these kind of hashes, right? So where these kind of hashes are there, so there is only encoding. Nothing like decoding will work on these hashes, or on hashes for that matter. There's another system when we do encoding as well as decoding along with it. Ankit has asked if C++ will work. Yes, it will work. Definitely, it will work. Actually, it will work really better. A lot of things are actually made on C++. If you have a knowledge of C++, I believe you'll be able to cater to a lot of things that are on chain, as well as if you have the knowledge of latency, like advanced knowledge of C++, it's awesome. I'll suggest go ahead. What are the platforms where we can learn about all this stuff? Like if you are to deploy on Algorand, I believe Algorand's website is more than enough, sufficient for you guys, right? We'll share some of the developer resources with you, right? By the end of the session, like we'll ask the organizers to share it with everybody that is here, and so that you can understand as to how you can get started and with which specific links can you get started, right? I believe, Keshav, if you have something else, let me know. Rinku has asked how blockchain then beneficial for blockchain is actually beneficial for banking sector as well. A lot of banks are actually, it's not about blockchain has, like, there are three types of blockchains now: public, private, as well as hybrid, where we have a mix of public as well as private chains. So it's hands of the owner itself, like what they want to make. If they want to make a private chain, they can do that as well. Now blockchain in itself, it's solving a lot of other problems as well, not just centralization, right? So if a private chain is being made, then the whole transactions and all of those things will be public to only a group of people, not more than that, or a section of people, not more than that. So such things could also be built. And a lot of development is already going on blockchain itself. If you go ahead and see some of the openings that there are, job openings, you'll find that a lot of companies are hiring on blockchain developers, some experienced blockchain developers like HCL, TCS. These companies are actually hiring for blockchain developers, and that too at a very good salaries, right? You guys can definitely go ahead, check that out, right? You just need to Google it. Rest all you'll get. Okay. Like when a user enters his credential, Chirag, now what will happen is that whenever you enter your credentials again, if you need to check your credentials, what you'll do is you'll pass those credentials again from using a hash whenever you re-enter. Like, so really, if you have created one initially, what you'll do is you'll use your credentials to generate a hash. You'll store that hash node, not those credentials, right? And then when you come back, log in again, you'll use those credentials again, create a hash, compare the hashes with each other, right? And it's not really decoding. You see, it's always one way. So you'll compare the hashes. If the hash is same, then your credentials are same. If your hashes are different, then the credentials are different. This is how hash checks the process of logging, or for that matter, this is security purposes. Is it possible to replace a block in a blockchain? No, Abhishek, it's possible, yes. It's difficult a lot. You'll have to go back. It's not really possible to replace a block itself. You'll have to change the data of that block, right? To change that data of, even if you want to skip that block for that matter, you'll have to change the data again of the whole block, right? So to change the data again, you'll need a lot of computing power to go back, change that block, mine all the blocks, and form the longest chain. Now there is a longest chain concept as well, where you'll have to form a longest chain before the next block is inserted. So you'll have to change it, mine all the blocks, as well as keep on mining the latest blocks that are being added, and form the longest chain. Only then the network will be able to accept your chain. Otherwise, it's so you see, we'll need a lot more than just the computational power in this case to make it into something that is changeable at the same time. I hope I've answered all questions. Can you explain the steps of becoming a blockchain developer? Chirag, I believe you might know some HTML, CSS, or some language, as you said, right? So first thing that you need to do, deploy a smart contract, right? And after you've deployed a smart contract, just have a look at how many projects or how many smart contracts are there. Everybody who's ever created a smart contract is public, right? Let me show you something. I have something here with me. Right, this is DeFiPulse.com. Here, all the DeFi projects are listed, right? Or if they are on Ethereum or on multi-chain, right? So these are the projects that you like to see. These are the projects that you like to see the smart contracts that they have created. All of these are protocols. These are all, they have all created smart contracts on Ethereum chain or some other chains as well, along with Ethereum chain, right? And this is the value locked in them. This B is for billions, right? $14 billion. This contract, this contract, the lines of code that Aave has, right? $14 billion is stored in those lines of code that Aave has created and deployed on Ethereum and other chains. This is a lending protocol where you can actually lend money to people in Aave, right? And this is DEX's Curve Finance. A DEX, what is DEX? Decentralized exchange. You must have heard about NSE, BSC, right? If somebody is interested here in stocks, might have heard about it, NSE, BSC, and stuff like that. DEX is a decentralized exchange, an exchange which is decentralized, not centralized. Think about that. This is mind blowing stuff. And if you see the code behind it now, you'll be able to understand after a bit of a while. Yes, it will be overwhelming at first, but then you'll be able to understand it when you have created one or two smart contracts, right? It would be very easy for you to then get started with it. Also, you can Also, you can go check out miningdesk.com as well. There are some things there as well which can help you get started, right? Can you explain the steps? Okay. Abhishek, is it possible to replace a block in blockchain? Is the same question that you're asking, Abhishek? No, you won't be able to replace it or change it. What will happen is, okay. All right. So what will happen is, as I gave you this demo, right? So if you change the data here, what will happen is that the whole blocks will change, right? So you'll have to mine all these blocks. So it's basically not possible. You'll have to go back, then change it, then mine all these blocks. And mining is already very difficult. You need a whole mining plant to mine just one block. And when it comes to mining all the blocks before everything, very difficult, right? So it would be really, just consider this as an impossible task. No, it can't be done, right? Great, Abhishek. Any other questions we have here? Guys, stay connected to the community. That is very, very important, right? Stay connected with us. Stay connected with the Algorand community and ask them questions, right? Guys, go ahead, ask them questions like how to build this, why to build this, right? And even people will actually give suggestions on ideas as well, as to if you guys have any ideas, right? They'll give suggestions and they'll give improvements as well along with it if you guys have done some tangible work in it, right? And they'll give some improvements as well along with it. This is something that can be done, this is something that can be done, right? So this is how good the community of crypto is, and this is what keeps the community intact together as well along with it, right? Okay, any other questions? Or from where can we start blockchain development? Start by developing a smart contract, right, on any chain. This is the one start point, right? And I believe there are not much proper documentations or things available. You can definitely go check out miningdesk.com. We have created a basic course there, and we are actually in process of creation of the whole thing, right? It will take us some time, but definitely you guys can go check it out. And within maybe a week or so, we'll be ready with everything there. There are starter courses there right now, so you can definitely go check that out, right? And start learning. That is for sure one of the basic things that could be done. And and as well as how to get started with smart contract, we'll share some resources with the whole group so that everybody can have a look at it. We have already created and compiled it. After the end of the session, it will be shared with everybody. You guys will have links to understand how to build a smart contract, and what I'll suggest is just go through the steps and try and build it. That is what is important, the most important part, right? Rest all you'll be able to understand only after you have deployed a smart contract. That is the first part. That is the first stage. After that, I might not you might not really need to ask as to where you need to go. You'll have a basic understanding what blockchain is, how smart contracts are made, and as well as then you can try and understand the usages of smart contract, what other people have done with that technology. Try reading about that and then create something of your own. Take help from the community. This is the whole pathway of a developer when it comes to creating something on a blockchain. Keshav, but there is a problem in one block. What will be the effect to the whole chain? First of all, if there is a problem in a block, it won't be added to the chain. It will be rejected by the community. And the systems are like that a problem could not be there in the chain itself. If the block is already added in the chain, then it won't be considered a problem, because majority of the community voted that it should go in the block. So there could not really be a problem in a block. It's practically not possible. Could we get the session will be there on YouTube in a while, right? And what we'll do is we'll share the links in the groups. So stay connected with us. That is essential, guys, right? And keep on trying to build something, ask questions. That is what you should do, and we'll definitely share everything, and you guys will have access to almost everything. Stay in the groups. We keep on sharing whatever we create in the groups itself, the WhatsApp groups or the Telegram groups. Definitely we can, Chirag, will share it as soon as the call ends as well. Maybe yeah, there is a WhatsApp group of the community. We'll share the group links with you after this session, right? And we can maybe after that definitely get in touch. Everybody ask questions there, as well as join the Algorand community as well. You'll find experienced developers there that they will be more than happy to help you. As well as what's best is you can actually see what kind of conversations are happening, what kind of ideas are blooming, right? But what is more important is after you have constructed your smart contract, what will be important is that you guys should have an idea as to what should you build, right? Right now you have a database, you have the means to access that database, but what is it that you want to build, right? Now that is a question that a community can answer for you. Okay, so stay in the Algorand community, or for that such communities which are very, very big at the same time, which are really, really forthcoming for developers. Okay, if there is no data mining, then blockchain will be beneficial. I'm sorry. Could you rephrase your question? Like, if this is the question.
So if data mining, like if the government bans data mining because of the power issue,
Yeah.
then will blockchain will survive?
Now, good question. There are, if anybody of you might have heard of Ethereum 2.0, what Ethereum is trying to do now is they are moving from proof of work to proof of stake. Now, mining is a part of proof of work. A lot of chain, because of power issues and all those issues, they are moving towards proof of stake at the same time, right? In that, the mining process is not there. In that, there is staking. Staking is a whole different process than mining, right? What is being done in staking is that people come together, they pool in money together, and their votes are actually shared in the ratio that they have pooled money in, right? So this is what is staking, and through staking, consensus is achieved, and the people who are staking their money, they actually get money out of it, right? So this is one of the reasons, even Algorand would be preferable as well, because they have already done it. They already have the scalable solutions with them, right? Go ahead. I'll suggest read about them. That would also be good. Will there be further sessions? I believe that is up to your team as well as for we don't really know about that right now. But definitely, if we come up with some unique topics or some more topics, some advanced topics, we'll definitely invite the whole team, and we can definitely go through that. Maybe some sessions could be kept on creating a smart contract as well, right? We can definitely think on those lines if you guys are ready for maybe an advanced session as well, which will be solely for coding. Blockchain can also be used for privacy. Yes, definitely. Okay. Thank you, everybody. Thank you guys. If you guys have any questions, just feel free to reach out to us on the groups that we have shared, right? We have already shared, I believe, the Telegram link here, right? Go ahead, join it, ask questions there. We keep posting whatever we create on that group, whatever advancements we have. So if you guys need to pace it up, definitely stay there, and we'll keep on creating content to onboard you guys and make sure that your journey in blockchain is really smooth, right? Great. Thank you everybody. It was really great having you guys here, right? Enjoyed the session, I really did, and a lot of good people here. Thank you so much. Thank you. Everybody was very welcoming. Thank you, everybody. Thank you.